Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome to the channel, good morning in fact, and welcome to SAEM, not the same Marathon 2023. I am going to be your host for the next few hours here. My name is Prosec, nice to meet you. Are you having a lovely time? I know I am, because we're going to get right into our next run here. Scottobozo will be running Ratchet and Clank up your arsenal, all titanium bolts. Let's get right into it.
Sorry about that. OBS decided to change my microphone. Time starts in 3, 2, 1, go. So, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm Scottobozo. I'm going to be running for today. I'm running Ouya ATB. This is the wildest category in the series. What you saw me do just earlier was I went into the multiplayer game. That was to turn off the quick select pause, because on PS2 normally that's just a setting that you can change, but on PS3 you can only change that if you go into the multiplayer menu before starting a new game. So that's what I was doing before the run started. So now into the actual run itself, I'm just moving through Veldin here. Veldin is a very straightforward planet. Ratchet and Clank games always like to have the first level be sort of a tutorial level that you can't go back to, so there's no, like, important collectibles for me to get or anything. I'm just going to be killing enemies to get some XP on my shock cannon. And then here we have our first free fall of the run. These are just little boring sections where you dodge missiles. There's going to be a few of those, 4 or 5 of them, something like that. And coming up here, I'm going to be doing my first camera clip, which is out of a pack switch long jump here. So I'm going to do a long jump, and then a long jump with the other pack, hopefully. And that will give me just enough speed that I can clip through the wall using the camera, if I do the inputs correctly. There we go. And that's Veldin. Alright, so there is a trick on Florana that could skip the entire planet, but unfortunately there are titanium bolts that we have to get, so I can't do that trick. So I never set it up. So on Florana I'm just going to be going through the level normally. Surely. Surely I just go through the level normally, right? Well, actually wrong. So what I'm going to do up here, there's this intended path on the left that I'm supposed to go down, but I'm actually going to go over here. And they conveniently put a titanium bolt here for me to collect. So that's titanium bolt number 1. And now I just skipped that huge portion of the planet, so I'm just going to play normally now, right? Wrong. I death abuse. Because the funny thing about Ratchet and Clank games is that they put the end really close to the beginning a lot of the time. So I can just jump through that, and boom, we're done with half the level. Now we gotta go through the path of death. This part's also fairly simple. We're just going to be dodging boulders killing a few enemies here and there. And of course, getting the second titanium bolts of the run. That's 2 out of 40. So again, to explain the category, this is all titanium bolts, where I start on a new game, and then I collect all 40 of the titanium bolts throughout the game, which means I have to visit every single planet, no exceptions. I don't have to complete the main objective on every planet, I just have to visit them all. And that is maybe the worst death that could have happened. So we gotta go through the whole path of death again. But what I'm going to be doing is, at the end of the path of death, there's going to be a boss fight. And what I'm going to do on that boss fight is I'm going to use the nitro launcher. That's the second gun that we got. We got 2 guns at the start, the nitro launcher and the shock blaster. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the nitro launcher. It's sort of like a bomb. And I'm just going to use that to do almost all of the boss's damage. But at the very end, I'm going to switch to the shock blaster so that I can get it leveled up, because the shock blaster becomes insanely overpowered at level 5. And then there I swap to the wrench after killing the boss. That skips the upgrade animation. Every time a weapon levels up, it plays a little 3-second animation. And it's always good to skip those. So I'll do it whenever it's easy and whenever I remember to do it. So yeah, now we're heading to the Phoenix. That boss we just killed was Captain Quark, one of the main sort of antagonists of the Ratchet and Clank series. But right now, he thinks he's a monkey, so we're going to put him in this cage, and then we're going to go to the bridge of the Phoenix to get the next mission that we have to do. So we just do a little waiting here, and one thing that the Ratchet and Clank games, especially this one, take pretty seriously is soft lock prevention. So if the game thinks you're stuck for 5 seconds, then it'll just kill you. And we take advantage of that right here. So it thought I was stuck on that ledge, so when I pressed R1 to let go after waiting for 5 seconds, it just killed me and took me back to my ship. Very convenient. So now we're heading to planet Marcadia. This is going to be our first real Ranger mission of the run. So the Galactic Rangers are on a never-ending quest to kill Tyrannoids because they're invading everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this jackpot box and just kill whatever noids are convenient to get along the way. The nice thing about the jackpot box, you see the little 2x in the top right corner? That's for both bolts and experience. So every enemy I kill with that up, I will get more experience on my shock blaster, which is a good thing. So there's bolt number 3. Yeah, there's just a few more enemies. There is a trick to skip the Ranger missions on this level, but it's not consistent for this category yet. There's a lot of intricate details to the skip that we just don't fully understand yet. So yeah, now I'm at the Ranger ship. Luckily the Ranger ship refills my ammo. I ran out of ammo there, but now it's perfectly full. And so we're into the Ranger missions. And my goal for these is to do them as fast as possible while also maximizing the XP I get. Because later in the run, I will be wanting V5 at a fairly specific time. And it is far more common to have less XP than you need than it is to have more XP than you need. So I'll be waiting for certain saucers to spawn little enemies, because those little enemies actually give a lot of XP for their size. So there's animation skip number 2. I'm going to be stunning these guys so that they are aggroed on me at the end. Because if I killed them right now, they would continue spawning until I killed those 3 troopers that spawned in the middle there. So that's the end of the mission. I'm gonna fall into the mud because it skips the like 5-second animation, the 5-second like wait at the end where it tells you, congratulations, you won the mission. And so now mission 2 here is just going to be more of the same. So if there happen to be any donations, now is a good time.
Yes, indeed, we do have one here. Thank you very much for $5 from the ever delightful F. Georgie, who has said, "Thank you, Remy, for 2 deaths on final card. Smile. Also, donate." It's a very good sentiment. Thank you very much for giving it to such a good cause as Extra Life. With that out of the way, I'll throw it back to you, Scott.
Alright, well there's still just more enemies falling out of these ships, and there's not much I can do about it except kill them. But after this mission, mission 3 is going to be one of the harder missions, because I will be taking control of a turret, and I'll actually be shooting down the ships instead of the noids that come out of the ships. And so that's going to be... it's going to be a lot different from the normal Ratchet gameplay, but it's definitely important to get down if you want to get a good time in this game. So here's the last 3 enemies of mission 2. Kill them, fall in the mud right away. Now it's time for mission 3. And the enemies here come in a pretty simple pattern. For the most part, it just alternates between left and right, but there are a couple times where you want to stay to one side for multiple in a row. So yeah, I'm going to be leading my shots as much as I can because these ships move fast and my bullets move slow. And I'm also trying to predict when I have done the last hit so that I can move to the next one a little bit faster. Yeah, see right there. I could tell that I killed it using the radar in the bottom right. The red dot where the ship was just disappeared, so that's how I know I actually killed it, even though I turned away so quickly. And now we're into mission 4, everyone's favorite mission. And by everyone, I mean no one, because this is a 2-minute timer. Nothing we can do except farm XP in the meantime. And so I think now is a great time to talk about what charity we're raising money for, and where you can donate.
Fantastic, yes indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are to be so generous as to type !donate into chat, you will be given a link to the very, very wonderful charity Extra Life, which is a fundraising program for Children's Miracle Network hospitals, which just do so much good stuff. The donations go towards the members' children's hospitals to fund critical life-saving treatments and healthcare services, along with innovative research, vital pediatric medical equipment, and child life services. There is so much good that is done, and it's so great for us to be able to help out in any way that we can, with things such as a very fun game.
Yeah, this game is extremely fun, I would say. This is my main speed game. If any of you Sonic people aren't familiar with me, I am the only Sonic Shuffle runner. So this is actually my main game. It's not Sonic Shuffle, if you could believe it. And so this is where I do all of my extremely high-octane gameplay, like farming enemies for XP. So, in this little section at the end, I'm just trying to wait for the saucers that spawn in the middle. Too far right, they won't spawn anything. Too far left, they'll take too long to spawn anything. So I want the ones that are just in the middle. And that's the end of mission 4, and what is our reward? Our reward is mission 5. Another pretty boring one, because all we have to do is turn the bolt cranks. Which is especially boring in this game because you can just hold literally any direction and it'll turn for you. You know, if you play like Ratchet 1 or Ratchet 2, you have to actually spin the stick around in a circle, but not in this game. But since it's such a long mission, it gives me plenty of time to talk about the next big trick in the run, which comes up at the end of this mission. I'm going to be falling in the mud, but not early, I'm going to be falling in late. And that's going to let me activate a glitch called Ghost Ratchet. And basically what Ghost Ratchet does is it lets you jump through walls. And you'll see how incredibly broken it is for the next puzzle section. Because the next puzzle section you're intended to do with a gadget called the Refractor. And basically, you just do puzzles to open doors. But if you can go through walls, you can go through doors. So it's going to be incredibly broken and you're going to love it. So there I set up Ghost Ratchet, going to the laser defense facility. And bam, I'm just going through walls. I don't even bother getting the Refractor, because every single time it's used, it can be skipped. Just gonna go through here, and there's 2 bolts in this area, which you casually can only get on a revisit after you get the gravity boots. But luckily, Ghost Ratchet makes both of these very easily possible without revisiting with a gadget. So here's a precise slope intercept. And it is not easy. Like, the camera messes with you a lot. So like a runner that you might see in chat, his name is King DDD. He likes to go into lock strafe because that locks the camera in place. But I like to fly a little closer to the sun with this. And there we go. That's the other titanium bolt. And now, unfortunately, now that we're done with Marcadia, Ghost Ratchet's gonna go away. There's 3 different ways for Ghost Ratchet to go away. One is for you to load a planet. One is for you to die. And then the other way is it can just expire after I think it's 10,000 frames. So we're heading back to the Phoenix. And there is another very technical trick coming up that I have to explain. So, what I'm gonna be doing, I'm going to be going back to the Phoenix, I'm going to be going into the VR arena. And what I'm going to be doing there is I'm going to buy the suck cannon, which is, normally a pretty harmless gun. But in this case, it is incredibly broken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suck up a crate, and then I'm going to swap weapons before the suck cannon fully sucks it up. And now I'm going to respawn, and now the crate remembers that it's been sucked up. And I can just use it to launch Ratchet a really long distance in one direction. And so now I have just completely sequence broken the game. So I just completed the VR gadget section. And what that does is that gives me the hyper shot, but not really. It just puts it in my set of 3 weapons in the top left corner. So I'm going to be very careful not to overwrite it. Anyway, right now I just loaded into a vidcomic. These are mini-games in this game, and it's basically just a 2D platformer section where you play as Quark. And for all titanium bolts, you have to collect all of the tokens, because if you collect all 100, you get a titanium bolt. So that's what I'm going to be doing in these vidcomics. And to explain the basic movement tech of these, there's basically 3 different ways of moving. You have the punch jump, that gives you a little bit of speed, or you punch before you jump like this. There's the jump punch, that gives you a little bit more height. And then there is the combo jump, where you do both, and that gives you a lot of height and speed at the same time. And I am low on health, this is a little bit annoying. I'm going to be a little careful here. Think I'll be fine. Oh. Alright, so there's a platform coming up that's on a cycle. Let's see if I'm on a good cycle. Yeah, that's pretty good. So at the end of this, there's going to be a health upgrade, luckily, so I'm not going to be on 1 health for the boss of this vidcomic. messed up the movement there, so I gotta wait out that cycle. And a fun fact, there's a cheat code to put Quark in a tutu, and you can input that during little cutscenes, during parts where you can't normally control Quark, and I like to do that just to swag out. And yeah, that was the boss right there. Pretty easy to kill in one cycle if you know what you're doing, and I got the good RNG there. There's two different boss patterns, one where he goes through the top, and one where he goes down through the bottom. And so I got the lucky one there. Alright, Swag Death Abuse number 2. Just like the first one, if you ledge grab in place for about 5 seconds, and the game thinks Ratchet's stuck, let go of the ledge, you're dead. So now we're heading to Annihilation Nation, and this is going to be where we level up the shot cannon to level 5. That's when it becomes incredibly broken, and you'll see how very quickly. This is also where I'm going to be picking up the tier guys, which is also incredibly broken. So that is what you have to look forward to here. But for now, this is just a pretty simple obstacle course where I'm going to be killing enemies on the way. Also, here's another bolt. This, I believe, is bolt number 7. Gotta be careful not to die here, there's a lot of hazards. And there is a second bolt on this planet, but I'll be revisiting it later, so I won't be worrying about that just yet. So there we picked up VidComic 2. We'll be getting to that a lot later in the run. Alright, so here's the arena challenge. These enemies can be a little bit annoying. These are some of the last enemies I'll have to kill before I get the shot cannon to level 5 and everything becomes easy. And one small optimization I'm going to be focusing on is that the robots die faster than the gladiators. So whenever possible, I'm going to try and focus on the gladiators first. So like that one had all robots, so I'm just going to save that for last. So ideally this would be the round where I get the shock cannon to V5, but it looks like I'm just short. There we go. So now watch this. The charge shot, now just watch how it deals with this round. There were some enemies behind me that you didn't see, but they're all dead, so don't worry about that. Yeah, unfortunately on PS3, the graphics for this is slightly less impressive than on PS2, but it is still just as powerful. So yeah, the shot cannon gets a huge charge shot that you can just sweep to kill enemies really far away. And the other thing is it does a ton of damage, and so you'll be seeing that on the next planet. So right now I'm heading to the Phoenix. I'm going to be picking up the coordinates for planet Aquatos. And that's all I'm doing there. So the next planet I'm going to be playing is actually planet Dax. Which, if you're playing casually, you have to play through Aquatos and Tyrannosus before you get to Dax. But since we did the VR skip, we can just go straight to Dax, and that's really important for the route because it gets us the charge boots. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just how broken the tier guys is. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just how broken the charge boots are. Alright, I messed that up. I pressed square a little early. Alright, here's how broken the tier guys is. You can cancel the animation for picking up an item. And then move the whole time. That's huge. Now, it's time to show off how broken the charge boots are using this weapon that I just bought, the Plasma Whip. Look at that. Just a mid-air jump, carrying all of your speed from the charge boots. How crazy is that? Alright. So, there is bolt number 1 on this planet. And now that I've shown you how broken the tier guys is by just jumping up to the ledge and skipping an entire path, and I showed you how broken the charge boots are with what all I'm doing right now, this is how broken the shock cannon is at V5. Here's a boss. I didn't even empty my clip. It's dead. And that is called shock cannon weaving, where you go back and forth with the charge shot of the shock cannon to deal the huge damage multiple times on the same enemy. Now here's some cool movements on Dax. Just barely got over that fence, and that's bolt number 2. Here I'm going to be going for a camera clip, but it's no big deal if I mess it up, because there's a convenient backup right over here. And that's Planet Dax. So now the next place we're going to go is Obani Gemini. And what I'm going to be doing there is, there's 2 bolts to get, but the level's a little bit weird. It's a spherical world, which means the charge boots always run at the slowest speed possible. So, it just changes a little bit of the way I move throughout the level. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the ship and jump out the back here. That skips part of the refractor puzzle, and now I use the VR gadget there to just get rid of the barrier to that bolt. That's the intended way to get the bolt, so nothing's being too broken here, until I get to this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the jump pad, I'm going to use the tier guys to cancel the jump pad, and I'm going to clip through this barrier. That skips the rest of the refractor puzzle. So now we're on to the second half of the level, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same jump pad canceling technique to get that bolt just a little bit faster. And then I'm going to use some infinite jumps once I get up here.
Hi, Scott. Pretend I was here the whole time.
Yo. Alright. So, just to catch you up, I'm playing without quick select pause, as you might imagine. So yeah. That is
have
the
you
end of
explained how
Obani
impressive that
Gemini.
is?
Yeah, I have explained that. So now we're heading to Aquatos. Chili, would you like to talk about Aquatos a little bit?
Yeah, okay. I joined just in the perfect time. Aquatos is probably one of the coolest planets in up your arsenal, to be honest. And we don't even go to it in a lot of other categories because you skip it due to VR skip. I think there's 5 titanium bolts on this planet.
Yes, there are 5.
And until about 2 years ago, it was a really painful planet because this first bolt that Scott is going to get in about 30 seconds is behind a door, and we didn't have a good way to clip through walls without mega turrets. But what Scott has just done there is called a camera clip, where he's forcing the camera between Ratchet and himself, and because the camera has a collision, pushing him through the wall. So yeah, you'd have to clip through here. We'd have to use 3 mini turrets, which you don't even get till the end of Aquatos. So you'd have to basically do a full loop of Aquatos. Oh, this is a fun death abuse. I like this one.
Yeah, you can just use the tier guys, go in the corner, and he's falling.
He do be falling. Yeah, and so after you've got that one bolt, there's a lot of other bolts that we need to get as well, and a lot of camera clips that Scott's got to do, which I'm confident he'll hit all of them.
There's one that's a little bit tricky because I do it in the most optimal way possible, but that happens to be pretty hard. So yeah, I'm gonna go into the water here, gonna pick up the last bolt in this area of the level. And then when I come back up, I'm gonna clear out the enemies, and then I'm gonna go for an insta-whip camera click.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Nice.
Very clean. Yeah, that is a lot of inputs at once. So you're double tapping R1 to slide off the ledge, holding forward so that you're still midair. Circle, triangle, circle to shoot your weapon, switch to whip, backwards so that you whip backwards, then L1 square forward to do your camera clip input. So that's a very, very technical it's a little sequence there, which you might not appreciate if you don't run the game.
Yeah, and now we're heading into the first Clank section of the run.
Yeah, this one's really, really basic. There's pretty much just hold forward and jump. But we do get to see Scott using the monkey gun, which actually is not that relevant because we'll have another Clank section coming up later where you're meant to use the monkey gun a bit more to control our friend Scrunch, but we do a trick called Scrunchless.
And I'm gonna swag out here a little bit.
Oh yeah, Scrunch proxy. What's this one?
Nope, we're just pushing the enemy out of the way. You're supposed to use Scrunch, but you can just skip that if you want to.
Not seen that one. Not seen that one.
Oh, I'm dead.
Oh, yeah. So this Ratchet section, you're supposed to use the Tira guys, which is the item that we just got. Or in theory, in the story we just got. I think we got a couple of planets ago, really, in the run. And you have to activate the Tira guys every, I want to say, 2.5 seconds or so. Otherwise, the game kills you quite low.
Yeah. So
this is the struggle of quick select pause off because Scott messed up one of his Tira flips.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take the death there.
So much height. Yeah, I'd take the death. So if you don't switch back to the Tyrannoid form every couple of seconds, you will die. The little cameras see you. Once you get past a certain spot, I think you can. No, the whole level you have to keep switching into Tyragai's form, but that's okay because we're doing the Tyrannoid tech. Very nice stuff. I think Scott's pretty much the only person I can see that can pull off that tech with quick select pause off at the moment and actually gain height with it. So that's really impressive stuff.
Yeah, it's really jarring to switch. To get into the weeds a little bit here, it's really jarring to switch between quick select pause off and on because when it's off, the square input you have to do is actually surprisingly late. And so, when you see me lose a lot of height when I'm doing Tyragai's tech, it's probably because I pressed square too early. And so it didn't actually let me hyperstrike to maintain my height.
So this section that we're doing here, the sewers right at the end of it quite else. There's a bunch of crystals that you have to get as a side mission. And right in the end of one of the tunnels, there's the last titanium bolt that we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some damage intentionally as we're getting our way down to this titanium bolt. And then, because it's so far to get out, the quickest way to get out is to death abuse. So I'm not sure exactly which method Scott's going to go for on the death abuse. Just run into the big guy.
Yeah, there is another death abuse you can do where you put down some turrets. But, I like the classic. And also I just did a plumber skip there. Well. There's a cutscene with the plumber there, but if you avoid touching the ground in certain areas, you can skip the cutscene.
Oh, I never understood how that worked. Okay, that's interesting.
So now I'm heading to Annihilation Nation 2, and there's a pretty specific reason I'm going there now. There's a lot of different planet orders that you can do in this mid-game section, but I'm going to Annihilation Nation 2 because there's a boss whose health depends on your health. So, if I go there any later in the run, he'll actually have more health.
Yeah, it's a really strange one. We think it's because it's the only boss that behaves like this, or maybe the other nation bosses do, but you'd never have to fight them in pretty much any category, apart from Hundo. So we reckon it's because the game lets you re-challenge these bosses. Very nice movement, by the way. And hitting the trigger from inside the lava pretty much to finish that level. So we think it's because the game lets you re-challenge these bosses, so it kind of like has dynamic difficulty on the bosses by just looking at what Ratchet's health is, and that's a way to figure out roughly how long you've been playing the game. But yeah, pretty short planet AN2. Now we're heading off to Blackwater, which is really tricky in new game categories, so 80% all titanium bolts.
Yeah, and you may have seen in the top right corner earlier that I got a PlayStation Network trophy, and that's going to be important later.
Yeah, watch out for the trophies. We're a big fan of trophies here. So the reason Blackwater is so hard is because it's considered kind of almost a late game planet, not quite, but quite a far on planet when we do it a bit earlier than maybe we're meant to. But mostly because we've kind of skipped so much that Ratchet is very underleveled, and he only has one good weapon basically, which is our V5 shot cannon.
Yeah.
So we have to be very careful on ammo management with this V5 shot cannon. Otherwise, the mission will take much longer.
Yeah. So these charge shots, they take 10 ammo to do, and I just missed that. That's very not good. But yeah, these charge shots, they take 10 ammo to do, but they work even if you only have 1 ammo left. So if I, try really hard to conserve my ammo here, then I can just leave with only a little bit of ammo here, then use the charge shots to kill the saucer, and then now there's still enough ammo laying around that I can finish the last 2 waves of enemies.
Yeah, so you can normally afford to miss 2 weaves. One, you're pretty safe. 2, you have to start playing a little bit safe on the ammo crates. Any more than that is
safe
us.
on the death abuse there, because I didn't quite hear my audio cue.
Ooh,
now I'm going to be going for a risky strat here, where I go across the bridge.
Yeah, this is risky for a couple of reasons. One, for the purely just the movement to get over there is really not as easy as it looks. 2, again, if you mess up your ammo, you're kind of screwed because there's no ammo crates on this side of the bridge.
Yeah, I have 2 ammo here for this charge shot. It is very tight.
Did one of the enemies just walk off the bridge? Did you see that? Am I crazy?
Yeah, that tends to happen when you're not in a normal position.
Okay, missed that one. So then mission 3, again, a lot of shot cannon weaving. And this one's kind of the most generous on ammo, I'd say. But you still definitely can mess it up.
I'd say mission 1 is the most generous. Here you get 1 extra weave. But yeah, I weave to take out saucers there. There's 8 that spawn, but the new ships spawn if you kill at least 6 of them. And there I use a weave to take out 2 ships at once, and that's the last ship, so I can just death abuse right away.
And then we're moving on to Tyrannosis, which is yet another planet that we don't see in very many up your arsenal categories. Which is a shame, because again, it's a very cool category. We're going to do a proxy at the start, which will this be the first proxy they run?
When you walk in.
Oh, true. Yeah, sorry. I always forget that this even exists. So to unlock Tyrannosis, you have to go back to the Phoenix, just to get that cutscene. And so the fastest way to get back to the ship afterwards is to do a fun little death abuse. There's so many weird little death abuses in this game.
Yeah.
Did you get to do the one before I joined where you just hang on the couch?
Yeah, I did that one. I also did, instead of hovering on the railing, there's a spot where you can ledge grab on the railing, and I did that one too.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
So yeah, we got another free fall section here on Tyrannosis. So Tyrannosis is actually a good bit easier than Blackwater, what we just did. On Blackwater, the missiles would 2-shot you in the free fall, but here they would take like 3 or 4 hits to kill you. And I'm actually going to be doing the brand new strategy that I worked on today.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, so...
I'm going to be doing the box eat here, and we're going to see how it goes.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, we saw one Boxy already when Scott did VR skip. First, nice little proxy, and that proxy is not as easy as it looks, by the way. So Boxies, again, the concept is you're storing the momentum of the box and using it to launch Ratchet. So I believe what we do, this is my first time seeing this in a run. So yeah, you're setting up that box, and there's 2 titanium bolts that we want to get on this planet. One we use the car to get, but the other is hidden in a cave. So it's you can't really get it with the car. You need to do some movement with Ratchet.
Yeah.
It's not that slow a bolt, but there was a theory that what if we got it with the box instead? So let's see how this goes.
Yeet looks good. Let's just see if I can drop in the right spot. There we go.
Very nice stuff. So yeah, that is a fresh off the press strat. That is first time anyone's really seen that. So you get in for a treat here. And yeah, so the side cannon's so broken, we're starting to realize it can break the game even more and more. There's a huge strat we do in NG Plus where we use the suck cannon to save about 4 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, and it can be done in the any % categories as well, but there's a lot of minute details about the setup that we don't really know yet. So yeah, we're on to Hollow Star. Here's the second Clank section of the run. And this is the reason why we're playing in the German language here. So it's not actually the dialogue that just happened, it's the dialogue at the end of the last boss fight in the Clank section. So yeah, this is the part where Chili talked about earlier, where we're going to not be using Scrunch very much. We're going to have him press this button, and that should be it. I'm going to be going for a very difficult strategy here, where I precisely glide along this railing.
Yeah, I'll let Scott go for it. As if you were ever going to miss it. But yeah, that's probably one of like the oldest kind of super hard strats in the game. I don't know exactly when it was found, but that's kind of a classic strat, Scrunchless, that was always once someone was passed out on pace back in the day, that was a big deal, but now there's so much other stuff that people want to do, and it's a lot of top runners couldn't do it kind of with their eyes closed. This is the Talos fight. Scott's being very careful to manipulate him into a certain spot so that he can trap him against the wall. What's meant to happen is Talos will, after he drops below a certain amount of health, Talos will fly away and spawn in some ninjas that you have to kill before he comes back again. But if we trap him and let him fly into us so that he can't escape, he'll keep bouncing off us, and we can just kill him that way, which saves probably like 2 minutes. The intended way of doing that fight is really slow. So then we're going to switch to Ratchet, and this is interesting because it's one of the few sections where we have Ratchet and no Clank, so they get separated in this planet. Ooh,
yeah,
we okay?
Messing up the proxy there a little bit. It's very tricky because you don't have very much room to get up to full speed with the charge boots. So it's very easy to bonk if you're greedy for your speed, and it's very easy to not get enough speed if you're not greedy.
What Scott's also doing is not killing that guy with the green laser at the start, which makes doing that proxy even spookier because you have to kind of hit your inputs perfectly, otherwise he's just going to kill you. Most runners would kill the guy first, so but if you want to save those precious seconds, then you just got to go for it. So we're just using the same proxy again, going over to this side. There's 2 bolts over on this side, one in this weird grav wrap section, which, to be honest, I kind of forgot even existed when I played the game until I had to learn it for ATV. And then on our way out, we just get given a bolt.
Yeah, there's another bolt at the top of this tower.
Just have to not hit any of these falling guys. It's not just avoiding those so you don't die or fall off the ramp, but sometimes if you interact with those guys that are falling from the sky, the game can just crash as well.
Yeah, but now we're heading on to Obani Draco, which is one of the hardest planets in the run. And it's not because of any titanium bolts. There are no titanium bolts here.
Yeah. It's hard for 2 reasons. One, the movement to get to the boss is really tricky. and 2, the boss itself, when we have this little health and this little weapons, is also really, really tricky. So what Scott's doing here is activating Ghost Ratchet, which is what we saw in Arcadia. And then how many mid-airs are we getting here? 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're going all
6,
the way, baby.
7. Wow, that is so impressive. So each one of those inputs was frame perfect. And Scott just hit the octuple charge in a marathon. That is absolutely insane. For reference, like, most people would hit the octuple charge like once or twice in their life. It's changing that many frame perfects together is insane.
And I got really good
way,
ammo here on the Courtney fight.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're handling that boss amazingly as well. So if you miss any of your shot cannon weaves, that boss becomes really dicey. Good. Is this going to come gold?
That's a gold at least. That's a 117. I think the any percent calm gold is 120.
That was ridiculous.
Alright, well now we're heading to Zeldrin Starport. I'm gonna buy the Flux Rifle here.
Yes, the Flux Rifle is nice to buy now because turrets can behave a bit wonky for some movement tech if you're not above the surface. And we're going to need the Flux Rifle in a couple of planets' time anyway, so it just kind of lines up as the perfect time to buy the Flux Rifle. So we're going to do an Insta Whip here. If we were doing that with the turrets, it'd be like, it's doable, but like way more precise. So it's much better to do it with the rifle. Nice little anime cancel. I'm not sure, have we done any anime cancels yet?
I've done plenty. I've done the one on Dax. That one's like very consistent because I use the gadgets menu for it.
And then, so the way this level works is there's 2 parts to it, and the second one is below the first one, but just completely unloaded. So what we can do is clip through the wall with another camera clip, fall into the loading trigger, and then load the second part of the level. And then this part is fun because it's got a timer. All Ratchet has to do is escape the exploding ship. 51. Wow, you're playing crazy right now. So normally the joke is that you got to hit a 50, but 51 is really hard, to be honest. It's pretty much perfect movement.
I think I'm playing better now that you joined because I died on the path of death.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, sorry. I got my time zones mixed up. When I first was looking at this, I was in France, so I was an hour ahead, and so I thought it was. I thought the run was an hour later than it actually was, but we're fine. We're here now. Now we got everyone's favorite section doing 3 vid comics back to back.
Yeah, this one's pretty simple. There's a couple cycles that I'm going to be trying to hit. I'm not on pace for the super fast cycle, but I'm on pace for the regular, normal person cycle. Yeah,
so I mean, the super fast cycle's only been done a few times ever. I think the world record in the IL only got done earlier this year, wasn't it? Or am I getting mixed up with
the super fast cycle for all tokens is a little bit easier.
Okay, I'm getting mixed up with the 80% one, aren't I?
Yeah, the any percent one is like the one vidcomic record that I have right now, and that's the one that was done very recently. And I'm messing up a little bit of movement, but I think I'll be fine for the cycle.
Yeah, this is the cycles are fairly generous on this level, so unless you're going for the super insane stuff. So you can afford to mess up a little bit and still effectively get the same time as if you didn't mess up at all.
I was expecting to get hit by that electricity. That was very jarring.
Yeah, plenty of time.
No, I think I missed the regular cycle. Right. So I think I'll be getting like, oh, it just didn't jump. That's epic.
Oh, I love that. There's a checkpoint quite near, so if there was a place to die, that's not too bad.
So yeah, ideally in runs you would be getting like a 138 IL time, but I'm going to be getting like a 150 something here. And yeah, there's just a nice climb here with the last few tokens.
The vid comics are one of those things that I think a lot of people don't appreciate, even the runners of the game. There's so much to optimize on those. Like even that last climb, I remember Yo Andy, who is a famous vid comic runner, kind of explaining that you can lose time there, even if you're full hopping instead of short hopping, for example, or something like that, or just traveling too far to the side. All those little things add up on something like the vid comics, where it's all about tight movement. It's quite interesting switching from a 3D game to a 2D game for short portions.
Yeah, so now we're into VidComic 3. This one is going to be a lot more focused on health, because at the end, you can basically just save more time the more health you have. So I'm going to be trying to avoid damage wherever possible.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of flame pillars that you can just damage boost through. But coming up in a second, we're also going to have an RNG section. Basically, we have to kill all these helicopters. But the position that they spawn in, and I think even the timing that they spawn in is RNG.
Oh, I got.
And ideally, what we want is the last one to spawn on the right, but unfortunately, it spawned on the left. So Scott had to stand on the left to kill it, and then go through the door on the right. But it's not a huge deal, but it's one of these things that, especially if you're going for an IL time, then you have to get good RNG. So we got 3 health going into the end, which is not amazing, but still allows us to do a couple of damage boosts.
Oh, there was still
Again, if you're going for crazy IL time, you can do all sorts of wacky movement on this elevator to get up faster. But it's just not worth going for in a full game run. So yeah, a couple of damage boosts allows us to get through most of the flames fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think it's most helpful on those ones with the conveyor belt that fights against you. Now, guess what? We just did VidComic 3, it's time for VidComic 4. And this one has a long wait on it, where you just ride a taxi for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, VidComic 4 I actually really enjoy. We got kind of a bit of everything on this. So we got some cycles that we got to hit right at the start.
I'm not going to go for the IL cycle here, no way.
Yeah. But even so,
change clothes on the zip line.
Very nice stuff. So that's actually a fun Easter egg left in by the developers. There's one of the cutscenes. Al actually tells you the cheat code to unlock the tutu costume, and it's actually in the game. So, yeah, fun little nod, kind of reference back to itself, and it's just the Konami code basically.
Yeah. So yeah, here's the taxi I was talking about. There are enemies to make it interesting, and there is 1 token. Well, not 1 token, it's 10 tokens, technically.
Yeah, I hate this token, because it's so easy to switch your brain off on this taxi and just forget about the token. I've definitely lost more than 1 run to do that.
Alright, so the VidComic is about to get interesting, although I took a lot more damage than I wanted to. Ideally, I take 0 there.
Similar to VidComic 3, we want to manage our health in VidComic 4 because of the end section, but it's a little bit different. So at the end of this one, we're actually going to have a boss, and we want to be able to have a bit of health to tank some of his attacks after we set him up into the corner. That was some pretty clean movement there, and taking no damage on any of the bees. Some of those bees can be a bit annoying while trying to grab all the tokens. And this laser attack as well. Oh, I think we did take damage on that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm going to get the health token just to be safe.
Yeah. So this is a nice alternative strat. It only loses a few seconds if you have good movement, but you've got to hit some... Actually, that's probably the first time you've been doing the perfect wall jumps. Or,
yeah, the glitched wall bounce. There's about a 2-frame window. Every time you wall bounce, you can punch, and you just gain height without actually moving away from the wall.
Yeah, so there's a lot of funky tech in the VidComics. That's probably the hardest one to get down. But it means that it's very powerful on any wall, and that's how you can go for some crazy stuff in ILs if you want to hit enough 2 frames. That was pretty clean boss fight. What we just do is force Nefarious into the corner and then just punch him. It's quite funny that the punch does more damage than the gun. So finally, we've finished up all our VidComics. And we can get going on Ratchet again. Are we heading off to Crash Site?
Nope, not Crash Site just yet. It's Metro.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. getting ahead of myself. Metro, pretty much one of the all-time classic Ratchet and Clank planets. It's really cool in Ratchet 1, and it's really cool here as well. There's 2 bolts we got to get, as well as killer bolt. Oh, sorry, 3 bolts.
Third bolt's
As well as-
sort of not really in the same area, but yeah.
Yeah, that's why I missed it for a second. So this first one is just kind of in this hidden path behind this window.
Another animation
Pretty-
cancel.
Yeah. So we want to time the animation cancel so that we pretty much die just as we return back to Ratchet. So you only get credited for the bolt when that animation is finished. So timing is a little bit awkward. Some pretty tight movement here to get over to the other side. Going to do some Terrorguise tech.
And that one's like the hardest one to do with quick select pause off. That was the one that's like most worried about.
Oh really? Interesting.
Yeah. Alright, now I'm gonna use the Flux Rifle to snipe the box. The nice thing about the Flux Rifle is that you can't get ammo for it from ammo boxes. So I'm guaranteed to get shock cannon ammo there every time.
Yeah, it's a nice little optimization that we can use the rifle to destroy the boxes from far away and guarantee that it's going to be shotgun and ammo. Nice clean boss fight. That's one of those boss fights that's fine unless it goes wrong, and then suddenly can be a bit spooky on ammo and on health. So we're going to do a different kind of proxy, which is a weird interaction between Ratchet hyper striking and the gravity wall. It just kind of forces you upwards to get this bolt, and then one of my favorite bits of movement on the tree to head over to this ranger ship. And we're only going here that there's like 4 or 5 missions that the rangers want you to do, and they're optional for the main game. The only reason we want to do it is because this map is completely separate and contains 1 titanium bolt. So all Scott is going to do is fly to that bolt and leave again. We're not actually going to help save the city at all.
We'll throw one shot at it for them.
The Ratchet helped a little bit, yeah. The annoying thing is the game is still saving, so you can't even grab the bolt and leave. You have to sit there for a second while the game auto saves.
But yeah, now we get to head to crash site.
Yeah, sorry for getting ahead of myself, but crash site is pretty similar to what you'd see in an NG Plus run. It only has 1 bolt, and the bolt is right by the ship. So it's pretty much one of the planets where we just go to the end and come back as fast as possible. That means we get to use a lot of movement. It's just a clean planet, to be honest. It's one of the planets that really works on your whip jumps, and when new players start running, it's quite hard. But once you're comfortable with whip jumps, you should be hitting it every single time. And interestingly, this is if we were playing the shortest category in this game, NG Plus with QE. This is where we'd get to within, about 5 minutes into the run.
We would jump straight from Marcadia to after this plane.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So on this planet, we get something called the master plan, which is an item that gives coordinates, which is very rare. And so what we can do in other games, other categories, is trick the game to getting that item, and then therefore we get the coordinates tied out. Nice little bit of terror movement. The movement out of the cutscene always spooks me a little bit, but I know it gives you kind of store of momentum.
Yeah, if you just hold neutral and press X after you spawn, you glide with all the speed. And it looks cool, and it is fast. So now we're heading to VidComic number 5.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. We want to visit the Phoenix as few times as possible, which means that all the VidComics kind of get squished into one section of the run. VidComic 5, I think you are a VidComic 5 fan, Scott, right?
Yeah. VidComic 5 is the best one. It is all movement. All of the cycles load in like pretty shortly before you get there. It is just really good.
I've never been a fan personally. I'm much more of a VC1 kind of guy, but I think it's just that there's loads of tiny platforms on this level that make movement awkward. But I guess if you get comfortable with that, I can see how you could enjoy it. But so, as Scott says, there's a lot of like minor cycles in this. So you see all these purple flames; they're on cycles. It's a lot about if you've messed up, you got to adjust your move and understand what cycle you're on, or if we're on optimal cycles with damage boosting through them in a couple of spots like there, well, not there earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
it's just
yeah.
all movement, no cycles, no RNG.
This last section, yeah, just pure movement, pure optimization of when to full hop, when to short hop, when to punch jump. I'm not sure which route we're taking up to the top here. Ooh, okay, we just have full jump.
Just one missed jump there, and 122 is still a very good IL time.
Yeah, very nice.
Like, the record is like in the teens, I think. So not too bad at all. And now we get to do the fun part of the category, which is not doing the not fun part of the category. We're going to be skipping Nerves of Titanium, which is normally a 7-minute, really boring arena section. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into the skins menu, make the game auto-save. I'm going to buy this. I don't think I actually bought it. Yeah, okay. I'm messing this up a little bit. There we go.
So what Scott's doing there is he's kind of trying to load the game, but the game's already trying to save at the same time, so the load screen gets delayed coming up, and you can see it's just come up now when he gets the trophy for buying the snowman skin. This is crazy. It means that we actually end up loading 2 levels at the same time. So what we've done here is we've loaded the Starship Phoenix and we've loaded Iridia at the same time. So it looks like we're on Iridia, but we're technically on the Starship Phoenix, which means that arena level, arena bolt. Oh, unfortunate, I've not seen that wall jump before. The bolt in the arena that is normally locked behind about 8 missions is just loaded in because quite literally the game gets confused. So we can just do some movement to get over to this bolt, and as you can hear, that the sounds also get really messed up when we call this level stacking, when we've loaded 2 levels on top of each other. It got found around a year ago, I want to say, and made this category so much better because doing that 7-minute section towards the end of the run when you're on a good pace, and then it just kind of kills any momentum, any interest in the run was painful.
All right, now we're heading to Iridia, and I'm going to be buying the N60 Storm here, believe it or not.
Yeah, 2023 and the N60 Storm is finally useful in the speedruns. We never thought we'd see the day, but so we're doing another boxy here. And the interesting property with boxies is that depending on what weapon you're holding before you switch to the shotgun, you actually get different launch angles. So this is why we use the N60.
Late there.
This is why we choose the N60 Storm, because anything that you hold with a pistol grip gives you a really high speed, low angle launch, and it's perfect for getting this bolt that's right at the end.
So, and the reason we have to do this is because there's a giant mission complete trigger in the center of the map. So this lets you fly over that trigger. And now let me go back into third-person mode.
Yeah,
so the animation cancel.
This bolt used to be the hardest bolt in the run. I think that's fair to say, right, Scott?
Yeah.
The old version of Mission 1 Skip, it contained loads of crazy movement. So not only is the boxy faster, it makes the whole speedrun a lot more consistent because we don't have to worry about doing the old style Mission 1 Skip. And then we're going to quickly grab this other bolt while the mission's finishing, and that's us done with Iridia. There's actually no need for us to complete the planet at all. So what you get for doing all the missions is the warp pad, which is, I think, kind of something that the devs put in. The game development of this game was quite rushed. I don't think they really planned out how the warp pad was going to get used. The theory is that you're meant to use it to teleport around on this planet, but it only is useful in like 2 spots, and we can skip them quite easily just by going to the end out of bounds right here. The hideout, we've completed the planet. We just need to get 1 bolt, which is hidden in a tunnel around the back of the planet. So hopefully we can get a little bit of movement, kind of wonky mechanics on grav rail. So yeah, we managed to get a charge. Ooh, clean. There. Oh, unlucky.
So I'm going to be really trying to get the animation cancel on this one, just to show it off, because there is a nice little funny thing that happens if you get this animation cancel.
Yeah, the cool one about this one is you can animate cancel so close to the ship that we can actually get into the ship while still collecting the titanium bolt. So you can see that Scott's going to get in the teleporter and get in the ship before the bolt's even collected.
And then Ratchet does that silly pose.
He did the thing. So now in the story, the Starship Phoenix, like the main hub, is being attacked. So we have to go back and rescue it, which just involves get to the end and back. So that's it, Ratchet and Clank speedrunning.
Yeah, the Phoenix has been taken over by ninjas. So what do? We don't kill any of the ninjas, actually.
Nice little 2-frame input there from Scott. That's not as easy as he made it look. So when you're going from a side flip into a long jump, that's a 2-frame window. Also with another little camera clip. That saves a few seconds. Otherwise, the intended way is that you just take that little. It's not an elevator because you go sideways.
Yeah, it's just. I guess you
take the tunnel.
Lift.
Yeah.
Although you're from the UK, so you use the word lift to mean an elevator.
Yeah, I flick between them so that people understand what I'm trying to say.
Anyway, we're on Koros. There's going to be a proxy here. You haven't seen one of those in a while.
But yeah, this bit of movement is actually really cool. So there's 2 bolts on the right at the back of the level. So we're going to go get the one right in the far corner first. And we have to be a little careful because there's a giant enemy here. And if you aggro him, he will start shooting you during this animation of you collecting the bolt. But Scott's done that nice and cleanly, so no need to worry. And then the other bolt is located in this little building up here. There's a few ways to get up here. You can just take the ladder or...
Oh, that guy sniped me. That's crazy.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, so this is why this speedrun, this category is so brutal, is because on these last few planets, you have such little health and 0 armor, and all the enemies do a lot of damage. So pretty much every time you're a one-shot, and there's a lot of movement. So basically, if you screw up your movement, you are going to aggro an enemy, and you are going to die. So this level, Koros, and the next level, Command Center, especially, are so brutal for that.
Alright, now I'm going to be doing what I like to call the fluid XP route. And the reason that is because sometimes when you're doing this, you die. So I'm going to be leveling up the flux rifle using the enemies over here with the jackpot crate.
Yeah, so this is... Well, actually, it's not that new to the route anymore, but around last year we started doing this. We always used to level up the flux rifle on Command Center, and then we realized that this jackpot crate that gives 2 times XP is right here by the end of the level, so it's worth getting a bit of a grind going at the end of Koros and then finishing off the grind in Command Center. And the reason that we're leveling up the flux rifle is because of the final boss. Pretty much any other weapon does no damage to him. For some reason, the flux rifle, if you stand at the right distance, just does insane amounts of damage. I mean, you've been seeing how broken the shot cannon is. We cannot kill Nefarious with a shot cannon. Not even close.
See, I'm going to be taking care of these enemies here. Oh, let me wait for this guy to stop shooting.
Important to note that Scott's also been anime cancelling every single upgrade animation that he's been getting on the sniper as well.
I thought I killed the guy behind the wall there. Oh well.
Oh yeah, that was strange. So yeah, if this is done cleanly, you don't even need to die to reset the enemies, but it's not the end of the world if you die. Ooh, but yeah, so this is what I'm saying. One bonk and you're dead. It's such a brutal level.
Yeah, all I'm trying to do here is just get up here, find the last bolt, and if I have collected all of the bolts, which I think I have, it'll say I got the titanium collector trophy.
There you go. And also, because we got our PlayStation trophies on, you'll get a nice little gold trophy in a second as well.
So now we just do some cool little movement here at the end to finish out the level.
Yeah, so this is the kind of movement that's really spooky when you're on pace because there's so many enemies, and if you mess up, then you're dead. Nice little Tiraful into the cutscene. And now we're on to the final boss.
Pace for a 109 here.
Really good pace for a marathon. Very, very good pace. That would still be very comfortably third place.
I think that would still be comfortably second place.
Oh, what? I thought DDD got Oh, okay. I can't remember what DDD's PB is off the top of my head, actually.
I want to say it's
So,
like
I was
12, but whatever.
Okay.
We're just going to do some shock cannon weaving for some cosmetic damage on Nefarious here.
Yeah, just to illustrate how so we've been killing everything in one shot with that shotgun, and it did just peanuts to Nefarious. So Scott's gonna move around and manipulate Nefarious into a specific spot so that we get the right distance away from him. And then we're going to be doing what we call sneak scopes, which if you press circle, square, circle in rapid succession, it allows you to shoot the sniper rifle faster, it reloads quicker. Very nice. So that was what we call a one cycle. If you do enough damage to Nefarious while he's locked into that animation, he won't go on to the second phase of the fight. If you don't do enough damage, he'll fly away and you lose probably 20-30 seconds. So this is the final boss. Time is up when the health is down, and it's literally just fly around in a circle and and shoot the gun. There's not much to this. It can be a little bit tricky when you're first learning to this to not die, but there's not really too much to it. He does have a weak spot around the crotch area. And that's
GG.
it.
That's time.
Very nice run, Scott.
Another 109 in a marathon. We take those.
Plus a Draco gold.
Draco gold, Nefarious gold. I mean, what more can you ask for? And you know what? I finished 10 minutes under estimate. I technically could do an NG Plus run and still be under estimate.
That's crazy.
Very well done indeed. That was a marvelous run.
Yeah, if any of you want to run Ratchet and Clank, you are more than welcome to. This game is sick. And you'll be seeing some more of it from Drigon coming up next, because he's going to be running the first game in the series.
Yes, indeed. Well, if either of you want to shout out anyone before we get to that, now would be an excellent opportunity to do so.
Huge shoutouts to King DDD. He is the one who found the level stacking skip that skips the 7-minute arena section that you thankfully never got to see. That was actually the first thing he posted when he joined the Ratchet and Clank speedrunning Discord, so he is an absolute legend for that.
You got to give some credit to Zhao F as well, who's been the strat hunter behind the scenes in Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal for 2 years now, and has been breaking the game wide open.
Yeah, he's been the one behind most of the box yeets with the suck cannon that I've been doing, and he's the one who found the one on Tyrannosis, which I debuted in this run for the first time.
Alright, marvelous stuff. And Chili, our commentator, very lovely to have you. If people want to hear more of your beautiful voice, where can they go for that?
Chili PG on Twitch. So, yeah, I've been running Ratchet and Clank Tools of Destruction recently, which is one of the PS3 games. But I do run Ouya quite a lot as well.
Alright, and Scott, our marvelously talented runner, where can people go to see more of your fine skill?
I'm on twitch.tv/Scottobozo. I like to do mostly no mic runs, so it's just a nice chill stream to watch when you're looking for something interesting Ratchet and Clank related.
Well, that sounds like a good idea to me. Alright, as mentioned, we will be back in just a few short moments with Dregon running Ratchet and Clank New Game Plus. Should be a good time to see all the lovely strats in there. Alright, I'm looking forward to it. I know you are at home. Don't go anywhere.